My name is Matt Wallin, partner at Wallin and Klarich. I specialize in DUI defense. In the following video, I will help break down and dissect a DUI checkpoint, and you may learn what you do and do not have to do. Enjoy.
How's it going, sir? Am I free to go? Am I being detained? No, that's all right. Here you go. Am I free to go?
Do you have your driver's license with you, sir?
Why are you pulling me over?
It's a DUI checkpoint.
How's my license going to help you judge whether...
You can have this card back.
Am I free to go?
No, do you have your driver's license?
I don't feel I have to show that to you. I'm at a DUI checkpoint. I'm not intoxicated.
Okay, so right here, he doesn't actually hand the guy his license. Is he by law required to show his license at a DUI checkpoint?
If we assume that the checkpoint is lawful in whatever state this takes place in, generally, one does not have a Fourth Amendment right to their identification, meaning he would, under these circumstances, have to provide some form of identification, be it his name and some identifying information.
Well, how would I know that if you have your window open?
Am I free to go?
No, you're not. Stand by.
Let me know when I'm free to go.
Without a doubt, this officer obviously, at least at this point, realizes that the driver knows a thing or two about his rights, which probably raises some red flags for the officer. What the officer is trying to accomplish, essentially, by getting the driver to comply is when the window is rolled all the way down, it's easier for the officer to observe these, quote, objective symptoms. This odor of alcohol, bloodshot, watery eyes. These things are more easily referenced in a police report when the officer can say that the suspect or the driver's window was rolled all the way down. And by this driver not rolling his window down, it could do one of two things. It could lead the officer to think, I need to be careful, this guy knows his rights. It may also lead an officer to believe that he has something to hide. So it works both ways, and it will be interesting to see how it plays out in this video.
Sorry.
Is this a license check or a DUI check?
It's a DUI checkpoint.
Am I free to go?
So roll down your window.
Am I being detained or am I free to go?
Sir,
No, you're not free to go.
roll down your window. Do you have your driver's license?
I have a driver's license on me.
May
Do
I
I have
see
to
it?
show it
Hey,
to you?
Yes.
Do you have reasonable
Shane!
suspicion that I committed a crime?
Sir, you need to give me your driver's license, okay?
Okay, but am I free to go or am I
No,
being
you're not
detained?
right now. No,
Under
right
what
now you're
suspicion am I being detained?
not. Because your eyes right now.
You see right there that he's already trying to, the minute he rolls down his window, the officer is already saying that his eyes somehow are miraculously now bloodshot. Because what that does is that gives the officer the opportunity to take it from simple questions and levitate it to a actual DUI investigation. So the bottom line is the inequity in the law is the fact that these officers have the ability, based upon their belief that someone has bloodshot eyes, which could be caused by a million different things, allergies, the air conditioning, smoke, that alone can take the encounter to an investigation. And that causes a lot of problems for drivers and is a way that defense attorneys like myself can win DUI cases.
Go ahead, put your car in park. Go ahead, step out of the vehicle.
Unlock your door.
Am I really not free to go?
Let me see your phone. You should hand him the card.
Do you really want my license?
Unlock
Yeah,
your
we
door.
really want you to step
Alright.
Unlock your door and step out of the
Step out of the
vehicle.
car for me. I believe that you're under the influence of alcohol.
I'm not.
Let's come and check, all right?
Alright.
There's a few of us that believe that, all right? So just come on out for us.
I
and
don't
make sure
understand
you're
why
safe.
you would think that.
Because your eyes are glassy, bloodshot, watery. In addition to that, you have droopy eyelids, which would be a different sign altogether. But just come out, let me look at your eyes, make sure you're safe to operate a motor vehicle.
Am I being detained?
Yes, come on out to see if you're safe to operate a motor vehicle.
Okay, so this guy actually tells him, yes, he's being detained. But that's not the same thing as being under arrest.
Correct. Yeah, there's different levels of police-citizen encounters. The courts will classify it normally as a voluntary encounter, an investigative detention, or an actual custodial arrest. Whether or not the encounter is a voluntary encounter is based upon the facts, just as whether or not an encounter is considered a detention or arrest is based upon the surrounding circumstances. Just the words alone don't normally control. It's the surrounding circumstances, the tone of the officer. In this situation, the reason the driver keeps asking that question is obviously he's somewhat familiar with the free to leave standard, where you can ask an officer, am I free to leave? And if the officer says no, then if the case were to come to court, the lawyer would be able to argue that at that point the person was detained, and when you're detained you have certain rights that are triggered. For example, to detain someone lawfully, you need to have reasonable suspicion. As you hear come up in this video, obviously this driver does not believe that these officers have the necessary and requisite reasonable suspicion to detain him.
So I'm not free to go.
I'm not going to ask you one more time to open the door. The next
I don't want to
step
take any
is I'm going
tests.
to. Okay, but that's beside the point. The next step is I'm going to physically take you out of the car.
I don't want that.
Do
So.
you understand that?
Under threat of arrest.
Now you're stumbling out of the car.
I'm not
Stumbling.
I record tape. Let's go over here. Let's see. Take that right over.
Clearly he didn't stumble out of anything. But it's just another example added to the list of how ridiculous it is that these officers in their reports almost blindly will just check off various boxes: slurred speech, unsteady gait, unsteady exiting the car. I mean, they're not even looking half the time. In this situation, he clearly was not unsteady or wobbly, but believed that when his lawyer, assuming he hires one, gets that report, the portion of the report where it talks about him exiting the vehicle, it will take liberties and it will say that he stumbled out of the car, and that's the exact reason why people like me fight hard against these cases. It's because sometimes it can be ridiculous.
Go ahead, step out of the car, sir. I'm getting him out of the car first.
Okay, so the passenger gets out of the car. Is he required to leave the car, even though, as he's about to point out, this is a DUI checkpoint, and he can't possibly be convicted of a DUI because he's the passenger?
Sure. This issue will fall on officer safety. It's come up in a lot of important Supreme Court cases. Generally, if the courts find that the officer has the authority to detain the driver, that'll give that officer most of the time the control to monitor or to control the movements of the occupants for the officer's safety. The officer can prevent passengers normally from exiting or leaving the scene. They can also require a passenger to get out of the vehicle, even though the reasonable suspicion, assuming he even has it, doesn't necessarily apply to the passenger. It's obviously for the driver. The balancing act of the privacy rights of an individual is normally outweighed by the issue of officer safety and controlling the scene at that point.
Do you have your ID on you, sir?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't have one.
You have no ID at all?
No, not on me.
Okay. Go ahead and put your phones down.
No.
Sir, go ahead.
He does not necessarily have to have an ID on him, but they can ask a passenger to identify themselves. There's no requirement by law that the passenger needs to provide the identification. But if that identification is provided, it could very easily give a basis for an arrest if that person has an outstanding warrant. So there's reason to be apprehensive, especially if you know that you have trouble with the law. If you do provide the identification, the officer could very likely write it down, return your ID, go back to his vehicle, run a warrant check, and the next thing you know, you could be in custody. I'm Matt Wallin, partner at Wallin and Klarich. If you like this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and also like our law firm, Wallin and Klarich, on Facebook.